One of my Amazon KDP books has become a bestseller in its first month and is currently the 5,000th best-selling book on the entire of the Amazon UK market. And as time goes by, I only expect this performance to increase, and it's soon going to be an asset that on its own is making me over $1,000 per month. But the reason why it's going to be successful is because of the launch strategy that I used. So in this episode of my $0 to $100,000 Amazon KDP account challenge, I'm going to show you exactly what that strategy was, so you can literally just go ahead and copy it for your own books. And of course, I'll also give you an update on the entire challenge and how we're getting on so far. So before we jump into it, if you're new to the channel, my name is Sam and I help people make a full-time income self-publishing books on Amazon KDP. So if you like this kind of content and you want to build a KDP business for yourself, then make sure you subscribe. So my 0 to 100K Amazon KDP account challenge, here is the update for February's performance. So a very quick summary before I go into the contents of this video. I'll start with the bad news. Now, there isn't actually too much bad news this month, which is a good thing. But the only thing I would say is with the launch of my course coming up, I just didn't have a huge amount of time to spend on this KDP challenge. For anyone that's put together an online course before and actually really cares about it, you know just how time consuming, how much effort it takes to actually get this off the ground. So that's where most of my time has been this month. I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I'd hoped to this KDP challenge, but hopefully with that course coming out very, very soon, this month I'll be able to dedicate a lot more time to the challenge. But moving on to the good news, despite that time constraint, I did still manage to publish a couple more books. I also managed to set up some more aggressive ad campaigns for all of the books so far in this challenge. And book 5 of this challenge, as a result of that, has actually become a bestseller in its category and is sat currently around a 5,000 UK BSR, or for those of you that don't know what a BSR means, it basically means it's the 5,000th best-selling book on the entire of the UK marketplace. So in this video, before we go into the income report of how all the books are doing and how the challenge is going, I'm going to show you how I got this book to become a bestseller in its first month. So this best-selling launch strategy that I'm talking about. So I'm going to ask you a question. When you first launch your book, what do you think the main goal of that launch is? Now, I imagine a lot of people watching this video would probably say something along the lines of to start making profit. It makes sense. You're making an Amazon KDP business to make you money, to make you profit. So surely the first month or so when you publish a book is to start making profit as quickly as possible. That's actually not the case when it comes to KDP. You see, there are only 2 goals you really should be aiming for when it comes to launching your book. The first one is to improve its organic ranking, and the second one is to gather as much data as possible. These are the only 2 goals you should have when you first launch your KDP book. So yeah, for the first few months of your book going live, the profitability on it might actually take a little bit of a hit, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm going to show you exactly why that is in these next couple of slides. So let's start with the first point, the goal of improving organic ranking. Amazon KDP has changed so much in recent years. You can't just upload a book and then hope it ranks organically. You need to be a lot more strategic. So how Amazon KDP kind of used to work a couple of years ago is you could make kind of any sort of book you wanted to, and because competition was so low on the platform, there are so few people using, certain organic keywords. So you could literally upload a book, put a load of organic keywords into your back-end keyword boxes, and then your book would rank quite easily for those just because there's so few products that are also trying to compete for those keywords. But the problem is, as Amazon KDP has now become so much more popular as a business model, unfortunately, you can't simply just rely on organic keyword ranking to get your book in front of the right customers. So in simple terms, in order to make sales on Amazon KDP, you need to have good organic ranking, i.e. your book needs to show up when customers are searching for keywords related to your product. But here comes the big dilemma that trips up 99% of people who just can't make a living or make any money on Amazon KDP. Because you can't get high rankings without initially getting sales, but then you can't get sales without getting high rankings. So it kind of just becomes this chicken or egg situation. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Or in KDP terms, what comes first, the high ranking or the sales? Because you can't get sales without ranking high on search terms, but then you can't rank high on search terms without getting sales. So which one comes first? So this is the cycle that most people who fail on KDP are currently stuck in because they're using strategies that used to work on Amazon KDP and no longer work. Now this diagram is actually taken from my Publish for Profit Mastery course, which is coming out at the time of recording next week. So depending on when you're watching this, you can either join the waitlist for that with a link in the description, or you can check out the actual course if you're watching this slightly further down the line and get yourself enrolled. And that course essentially teaches this brand new strategy of how to do Amazon KDP in 2025 compared to what used to work back in KDP. And this diagram, like I say, is taken from that. So here is the stage that loads of people are currently stuck in. They first launch a book, and when your book is first launched, because it's brand new, it has no ranking, but then because it has no ranking, they're getting no sales. But then because they're getting no sales, they're getting no ranking, and this vicious loop just kind of continues and they don't make any money or any sales with their KDP books. Whereas previously, a couple of years ago, because there was so much less competition, you would have some initial ranking because so few people are, also competing against these keywords. But these days, it's just too competitive and people get stuck in this cycle. So how to do a KDP in 2025 and how to break the cycle, you need to therefore have some kind of input to break this up. And that input is ads. So what Amazon ads basically do is they allow you to make your book rank first for any search term you want on Amazon KDP. So let's just say you released a unicorn coloring book, and when you first launch that, if you're not using ads, people who type in unicorn coloring book, they're not going to see yours. They're going to see all your competitors who've been up there for a couple of years. But if you're advertising against the keyword unicorn coloring book, you can essentially pay to have your book rank first for that keyword. So all of a sudden, everyone now who searches in unicorn coloring book can now see your book thanks to the ads. So the ads initially just give you that additional visibility that you wouldn't get without using them. And because you start to get a bit more visibility, it's just a numbers game. The more visibility you get, you just start to pick up some kind of sales for your book. These are pretty much all going to be through your ads. But then as you start to get more sales, because Amazon realized this book is selling, they think, okay, let's start pushing this a little bit more. So the more sales you start to get some ranking, and then you're continuing to use your ads. And then over time, this snowballs into more sales, which then snowballs again into even more ranking. And then over time, because your book is making more sales, Amazon are thinking, okay, this book's doing well, people like it, let's start pushing it even more organically. And then you start getting your book in front of customers without having to use ads. Now, this whole system and process is obviously a lot more complicated than that, but this is a very simple way of explaining it. If you want to know the full details, like I say, I cover the entire thing as well as so much more to do with this strategy in my Publish for Profit Mastery course. But essentially, over time, this is what your book sales will start to look like. When you first launch your book in month one, because you have no organic ranking, even the best KDP publishers don't have organic ranking when they first launch their book because, it's just been launched. So in month one, the vast majority of your sales will come from paid ads. Remember, this is a percentage of sales, isn't like a number. So almost 100% of the sales you get in month one were probably going to be from paid ads because how else are people going to find your book? But then over time, as you get more sales from your paid ads and therefore Amazon start pushing your book a little bit more every single month organically, over time, your organic sales start to pick up. And the percentage of sales that come from ads versus organic, that gap starts to close. Now, when you get to this kind of point, it's entirely up to you. You can just decide to turn off your ads altogether and not have any ad spend and just purely run off organic sales. But I would always say if your ads are performing relatively profitably, just always keep this on because it just allows this snowball to continue rolling faster and faster. And before you know it, you'll start to make so much more money from your KDP books. And this is exactly what I've done with this book number 5 in this challenge. So that's goal number 1 of when you first launch your book. You just want to increase your organic rank as much as you possibly can, and you do that by using paid ads. Paid ads are essentially just a little push you need to get that ball rolling, and then over time that ball will just keep picking up speed and you'll start making more money. But the second goal, as I said at the start of this, is to get data from your ads. Because as well as helping your organic ranking, spending money on ads when you first launch your book also provides a lot of data that you can use to optimize. And this means over time, your ads will only get more profitable because you know exactly what keywords and products convert well into sales and what keywords or products don't convert well into sales. And now I'm going to jump over to my advertising console to show you exactly what I mean. So here we are. Here is the ads console for this book number 5 of the challenge. As you can see, book 5, 0 to 100K challenge. And I spent £141.12, generating £244 worth of sales with an ACOS of 57.64%. So if anyone that knows KDP, this is not a profitable ACOS because a profitable ACOS for this book is around the 30% mark. So currently my ads are unprofitable. But this is exactly what I mean when for the first couple of months, don't worry about the profitability of your ad. The only goal is to drive as much traffic and as much sales to your book as possible to start that snowball rolling. And for those of you that previously might have got the wrong end of the stick and think I'm just saying, you have to spend loads of money on Amazon KDP to be successful, I've only spent £141 on this book so far this month. Obviously, the more you spend, the better, but you should just basically spend as much as your budget allows you to, and as long as you're using ads, you will still get success. The more money you spend, it's just the quicker this will happen. But in terms of a data perspective, as you can see here, I have all of these different campaigns. Again, I won't go into the details of how I've structured them in this video. That's, again, something I cover in the Publish for Profit Mastery course. But as you can see, this campaign here, I've got 12 orders. So within this campaign, 12 times, a certain keyword or product has converted into a sale. So what I've got from this campaign here now is I can see, okay, exactly what keywords or products do convert to sales and what keywords or products don't convert to sales. Now, over time, all I need to do is go into this campaign and just say, okay, all these ones that don't convert to sales, where I'm just spending loads of money on, but it's giving me nothing back. Let's just stop targeting them, or in Amazon ads terms, negatively target these. And then that means every single penny I'm spending is only being spent on the things that actually do convert. So that's why over time, this ad will only become more and more profitable, again, compounding and starting the snowball movement. So this is why advertising early on is so important, because essentially, yeah, my ads are, technically unprofitable for this book, but I'm not just paying for the ads, I'm paying to improve my organic ranking, and I'm essentially paying for data, real life data on my exact books that will allow me to be more profitable over time. You have to remember, Amazon KDP is a long-term business model. Anyone that's saying it's a get-rich-quick scheme where you make loads of money in your first month or your second month is just lying. They're trying to take your money. This is the reality of what building an Amazon KDP business actually looks like. So if your ads when you first launch aren't that profitable, don't worry, they're not often going to be, and that's sometimes a good thing. So just to summarize this idea of the book launch strategy, the goal for the first month or two when you first launch your books is not to become what I call profitable. That will just come later down the line. The only two goals are to improve your organic ranking and to gather data from ads. If you want to build an Amazon KDP business properly, you have to be looking long-term, 6, 12, 18 months to really start seeing some good results. So that's a short explanation as to the strategy that I use in order for my book to become a bestseller. For the next part of the video, let's dive into all of the numbers for this challenge for the last month. So as you can see, I'm back into my Excel sheet. And if we just look into February here, my total royalties for the month were $810.83. So a huge increase from the previous month, which is really good. From 264 units, giving me a royalties per unit of $3.07. Now, of course, I did mention previously my ad spend had massively increased from the previous month because I'm now starting to really try and get my books ranking organically and also to get as much data as possible. So I did have to take a little bit off this royalties to come to my overall profit, which was $315.98. So that's still a big improvement from the previous month. So not only have I still made more money than last month, I've also managed to get all of this data, which is so valuable. So the fact this month is even still more profitable than last month is a really good sign. And just for proof that these are the numbers, as you can see from the 7 books I currently have live in this challenge from February the 1st to the 28th, 2025, $810.83 in royalties, from 264 units processed. So those are the numbers for the overall challenge itself. Let's start now looking into the overall book performance and how each individual book has performed since the start of the challenge. As you can see from the table, book 1 is still by far my most profitable book. The reason for this is because that was live during Q4, where you see a massive uplift in sales. Book 1, remember, is the book where I had some negative reviews, so I'm still working on getting those reviews up before I really start hammering ads on it again. Profit just under $1,100 for this book. And the other books also starting to pick up now. So if I just compare this month versus last month, you can see how each individual book has performed this month. As I mentioned, book 1, I'm still, trying to build up the reviews on that. So not advertising, so growth on this currently is really slow. Something like $30 I made from this book this month. Book 2 is growing steadily. As you can see, about an extra $70 made from that book this month. Book number 3 has pretty much stayed the same because I've been quite aggressive with my ads. I've kind of, written off this month for this book just to harvest as much ad data as possible. Book number 4 is growing really nicely. It's almost doubled in profit from last month, which is a really good sign. So this book is slowly starting to grow a lot quicker. Book number 5, as you can see, this is the book that's the bestseller. It's still unprofitable. And this is exactly what I mean from this video. It's not all about just making loads of money in month 1, month 2, month 3. There's so much noise online at Amazon KDP and videos on YouTube saying, use Amazon KDP and you can become like a millionaire in a couple of months, and just posting really unrealistic results. This is literally a realistic view of how you build an Amazon KDP account. And for anyone watching that thinks, this is really slow, whatever, you've just been brainwashed into thinking this is a get-rich-quick scheme. This is literally what it looks like in reality when you're building a successful KDP business. This book number 5 is a perfect example. It's still unprofitable because I spent $117 getting it made. And for my first couple of months, I've just been really aggressive on ads. I'm not worried about making it super profitable. I just want to get this organic ranking and get this data. And I can guarantee you in 6 to 12 months, this book is going to be making me over $1,000 profit per month because of what I'm doing right now. I'm almost taking a hit very early on with this book because I know how much potential it has. So this next month will easily be a profitable number, but I'm just showing you sometimes to get there, you do have to sometimes have a phase of being unprofitable. And then the two new books for this challenge, book number 6, I actually published this right at the start of the month, so it's had a whole month to kind of get some sales, and it's already profitable, $60 pretty much in profit. And then book number 7, I only launched right at the end of the month, so it hasn't had time to be profitable, especially when I spent $40 actually creating this book. So it's currently at a loss of $43.55. Again, exactly the same story. This will start becoming more profitable next month and the months going forward. So again, just to reiterate, if your Amazon KDP business looks something like this, you're on the right track. Ignore all the noise of people saying you need to be making thousands in month 1, 2, or 3. It's just not realistic. These people probably aren't even building a KDP business themselves. And this is exactly why I wanted to do this challenge, to give you full transparency over exactly what this whole process looks like. So those are the numbers for the individual books. What about the top line figures for the overall challenge so far? We've been going for 3 full months. I started in November, but that wasn't a full month. So in terms of full months, it's been 3 months so far in this challenge. We've got $2,676 in royalties with an overall spend, that's ads as well as book production, of $1,203 with a total profit of $1,472, giving us an average profit per month of $490. So I'm very happy with how this challenge is going, especially when you consider I haven't actually spent a huge amount of time on this. And Amazon KDP businesses are generally quite slow when you first start them for the points that I've mentioned in this video. But already, because we have an average profit of $490, our account is already worth between $14,000 and $19,000 if you were to sell it. Because remember, your KDP account is worth roughly 30 to 40 times its average monthly net profit. So these are the sort of figures we're already looking at if I was to start this challenge, as a brand new Amazon KDP account. So hopefully you're starting to see just how building an actual Amazon KDP business comes to life, and why it's literally one of the best businesses that you can start. So just to finish off this video, let's go through my focus for March. Firstly, I'm gonna start using all of this ad data that I've mentioned in this video to start optimizing my campaign so I can increase spend and also increase profitability. I'm gonna also try and release another book in a niche that I've recently found to be a really good opportunity. And I'm also gonna start to focus now on getting the most out of my existing books rather than simply just creating as many books as possible. I mentioned this in the last video. There comes a point in Amazon KDP where you initially need to just get loads of books out, or a decent amount of books out. But then once you've got them, almost stop producing any more books and make sure you're squeezing as much as you possibly can out of the books you already have before you start moving into loads more. Because before you know it, you could easily have 20 books, but you're only squeezing like 30% of the royalties out of each of those individual books, which is nowhere near as good as having something like 7 or 8 books when you're squeezing the maximum amount of royalties out of them. So for this month's focus, I'm not necessarily too bothered about creating loads of books anymore. I'm just trying to get as much as I can out of my existing books before I move on.